what their plans are for the neighborhood. So I gave them 5-minute introductions. They don't have to use it all if they don't want to, but then we'll open it up for questions. So since I started on my left last time, I'll start on my right this time. So Andrew Cash. Thanks.
Hey folks, how's everybody tonight? I'm Andrew Cash. I'm the candidate for Davenport. And for the last 30 years I've been very involved in the arts and culture sector as a musician and a songwriter, a composer, and an activist. And I've also written for Now magazine for the last 15 years in the news section. And through all of that work, I have got a really unique perspective on Canada and on Toronto. Most of the stories I've written have been sitting in meetings like this and talking to people like you. Maybe I've talked to some of you about neighborhood issues, about folks trying to navigate the power structure in order to live more healthy, happy, safe, and just lives. And it's been a revelation for me, just as being the candidate in this election has been a revelation. And part of that revelation has been that for the last 18 months I've been knocking on doors all over Ryder. And you know, when you do that, you really get a sense of the real Canada, you know, the real Toronto. Because when you're at someone's door, and I know, you know, I know we're all coming to your door these days, and it is, you know, an amazing experience to see how, you know, how polite people are, right? But you find that when you're talking to people at the door, and it's not filtered by the media, it's not filtered by and explained by Cowan, and it's not in the context of the toxic national political partisan atmosphere that we have grown to really loathe. People are really engaged in their city and in their country and in politics. You know, this idea that we have that, you know, Canadians are tuned out is so untrue. And in Davenport, of course, decisions that government make on child care, on elder care, on transit. We've got diesel train plans here that is going to affect all of us. And these are decisions that are going to affect all of us directly. And that's why it's so important to engage in politics. That's why I'm here. That's why I decided to do this. We have had, in my view, woeful ignoring of Toronto issues at the federal level. When I first started, you know, my tagline, you may have seen it on the signs, was Cash for Toronto, and people would say when I first knocked on doors, I mean, like, wow, Toronto, you mentioned Toronto and federal politics, like what the heck are you doing? But over the course of 18 months, what I'm hearing is that people are realizing, you know, hey, we have set the bar so low for what the federal government can do and the impact it has on our lives that no one really expects our MPs to be around. I think we can change that. I think we need to change that. And that's why I'm here tonight. And thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real honor to be here.
Thank you. Mario, when ready, come on. Yeah, right up. So.
Thank you very much.
Let me just get started. So, Miguel.
Thank you. My name is Miguel Figeuroa. I'm the candidate for the Communist Party. I want to thank DIGIN for taking this initiative to organize this discussion. Hopefully there will be many more before May 2nd. Nowadays, the electoral system tends to be driven so much by electronic media television ads and so on and so forth, and not the opportunities to actually talk with voters, with the residents at the grassroots level. And that's unfortunate. It's something that's been lost over the years because of this tendency to shorten election campaigns, make them less accessible. So we're just receptors. We just sit in front of the tube and get the dribble of propaganda and the counter-propaganda. So, I just want to say that our party is putting forward in this election what we consider to be quite a comprehensive platform which addresses both local concerns, national concerns, and global concerns. I'm sure everybody in this room appreciates that these questions are very closely interconnected. So, for instance, problems relating to housing in Davenport are closely related to federal policies, not just policies from Queen's Park, but federal policies with respect to housing and what kind of housing should be constructed. Everybody will say that they're in favor of housing, but when you delve more closely into the question, it invariably becomes a question of market solutions as opposed to community and people-driven solutions. Similarly, with respect to the environment, there's a lot of debate about the environment and concern about the environment, and justifiably so. But most of what's being projected in terms of the environment are market approaches to say, well, there should be, let's put a price on pollution. Well, our party fundamentally disagrees with it. As I say, well, let's put a price on murder. So you go ahead and murder people as long as you're willing to pay the price for it. Well, that's fundamentally wrong. So things like, for instance, the carbon tax and cap and trade, all these things, to try to deal with the problem of global warming, are based basically on the idea that polluters can pay. They can trade the stock exchanges for the right to pollute. We think that's fundamentally wrong. With respect to concern about crime, I know that there's a big concern in this neighborhood and in this riding, most urban centers across the country. But what are we hearing from the Tories? What are we hearing from the Harper government? Is a very, we would say, reactionary, law and order agenda. Let's build more prisons. Let's come down harder on youth and criminalize youth. So let's hire more cops. When in fact, certainly from our perspective, fundamentally different approaches needed. You can't combat crime without dealing with the social basis of crime. And that is unemployment, that is poverty, that's issues relating to a lack of hope for young people, a lack of access to education, and so on. So our party is putting forward a lot of positions that address those fundamental questions. And of course they have a national and even an international resonance. I won't even spend too much time because I know time is limited, at least in the introduction, getting into the question of war and peace. But that's not just some sort of abstraction at the global level. It affects our lives, affects our sense of security. Our sons and daughters are in the military. We have a right to be concerned about what wars Canada gets engaged in. As far as we're concerned, the war in Afghanistan was wrong right from the beginning in 2001. We were the only party in this country in October 2001 that came out against that war. The NDP, to their credit, a few months after the onset of the war, changed their position and came out against the war. But at the time, the caucus voted in favor of, it's in fact, look it up. As a matter of fact, Libby Davies was the only member of the NDP caucus in Ottawa that spoke out against the war, and she was silenced subsequently, and of course the party changed. But the fact of the matter is that war was always wrong. It was always unwinnable. And yet it continues to drag on and on and on. And now we're engaged in another war in Libya. Our party is fundamentally opposed to that war as well, and yet all of the parties in Parliament have jumped on that bandwagon. And I think there's a lot of Canadians who are concerned about the issue of war and peace and military spending, not just as entities unto themselves, but the fact that all of these resources, and the Tories are planning to increase it to billions and billions more, is coming away from social programming, health and education, childcare.
5 minutes or not. I'm keeping them to 5 minutes for those who have walked in late. So, Wayne Scott?
Thanks, Don. And I can't tell you how great it is to see all you neighbors here tonight that are concerned about the issues that we're going to the polls again. For me, it comes down to what we can do locally to make this the best neighborhood in Canada. And, in the world if possible. I think this is the best country in the world. I've lived here for 60 years. I was born in downtown Toronto. I grew up in the suburbs. And as soon as I was able to, I escaped and came back down here. To go to art school. Went to the New School of Art. And I went to Sheridan College to study animation. And I went to George Brown College to study silkscreen. Throughout all that time, I was in musical groups. I started my first band when I was 14. And I kept doing that until I was 22, when I discovered that I wasn't as good as some of the people that I had heard in Toronto at what I wanted to say, or they said it better, so I started working for them. And I did album cover designs and posters for a number of iconic Toronto bands in the early 70s. And eventually, because these bands never made any money, they were too busy making art. And it wasn't really all that commercially viable. There were other jobs that were involved as well. So I lifted equipment, and I never learned how to drive a car. So actually, at one point, I was in the only two-man road crew that did what I was doing. The musicians had to do it. But we were great at setting things up and putting mirrors over the keyboards, and we had a big light show, and we did all this stuff. Eventually, I started producing the albums for these bands, because somebody had to do it. And I always looked to expand, not necessarily my knowledge, but just what I could do to help. And eventually, by 1981, they had the only place for us to work was in bars in Toronto. And by the time they increased the liquor license to Sundays as well, they expanded it. I was burned out completely. I had to get out of the music business to survive. But I also felt that I wasn't doing enough. I could sing and write and draw about all these different things that meant something to me. But I wasn't getting my hands dirty. And so I looked for a real job. And that real job was bike courier. Now some people would say that's not a real job, but over the course of the next 25 years, I moved freight and documents around the city, hundreds of thousands of delivery kilometers, without ever fouling the atmosphere. I was serving the community, I was serving the business community, but I was also not foisting the detriment of that industry on our city. I love this city. I've lived here all my life. It's my friends, it's a joke that I never leave the city. I never go on north of Highway 7. That's the big joke. I've never been on a plane. I care about the city, and I fit here. I feel a part of it, and I want to make it the best that it can be. I want to help it be the best it can be. I founded a labor organization called Hook and Cycle Couriers, the Courier Coalition in the mid-90s, because of the terrible working conditions that the couriers I worked with were under. And we fought with Revenue Canada for 18 years to get food designated as fuel for bike couriers. Now it took 18 years, but we finally won our case in front of the Federal Court of Appeal after losing 2 federal court cases. We finally won, and now every courier, non-motorized courier in Canada, gets $17 a day without receipts as their fuel allowance that they can deduct deduct that from their income. It doesn't mean a lot, it's not a lot of money, but it means a hell of a lot to people that are in an industry where most of the people are working below the poverty.
Thanks very much, Wayne. You missed the intros, but here's Mario Silva from the Liberal Party, for those who don't know him, and here's your 5 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, I hope nobody thinks they're having to Class B type of debate, because the number one debate is on TV at this very moment. And that's the reason why I was a little bit late, because we have volunteers that they can't be anymore to watch the debate. So I know it's the same time, and I'm actually encouraging people to make sure that they watch the debate. I think it's really important. I think this election, like all elections, is about what type of direction we want for our country. And I'm really worried about the government of Stephen Harper and what he wants to bring for this country. And we need we need an alternative to that government. And I think we have an opportunity here also to do that in Davenport, and make sure we have an alternative voice in Ottawa to the Harper government. I've served the community for many years. This has been my home since I was a kid. I went to grade school, high school in Davenport. I'm proud to call Davenport home for many years. And I'm proud of the people I've served over the years, both when I served on various boards and agencies in the community, from Working Women Community Center to Gore Information Legal Services. I've been a passionate advocate for many years on more just refugee laws and immigration policies. I've worked with, and I've also fought even against my own party when I thought they were doing things that I thought was not appropriate on the issue of immigration. But immigration has always been my passion, and I still believe very strongly in civic participation and getting new immigrants from all walks of life to come in and get them to become citizens. It's been a process I've been doing for a number of years, where I've signed thousands of people to become new Canadians. I really fundamentally believe that unless you're a Canadian citizen and exercise that right, you don't have a voice. You need to have that voice, you need to have that power, you need to vote, and you need to become a citizen in order to do that. So that's been my long-time mission for many years. I've served at City Council, as many of you do know, as well as in this part of the riding. I was one of the helpful, very instrumental also starting DIGIN as well here when I worked with the Ed Marie at the beginning. So I do have a long history as well with DIGIN. I've served on many arts council, cultural boards as well. This has been a passion of mine of service to the community. And I hope on May 2nd we'll continue to have the support of the community. I've been very reassured that some of the words have been getting at the door, and I'm very positive about the message that we also are resonating. And I think it's one of, it is about positive, it's about great hope. It's about changing the direction of Ottawa. It's not about mega prisons as the Harper government wants to do, but it's about investing in youth. It's about investing in seniors, investing in housing. I remember when I got elected in 2004, there were many things we were doing for public transportation, for housing, for the environment, the colonial court. All this, unfortunately, was killed when Jack Layton decided to walk away from the table. At that time, I remember very clearly, because people talk about cooperation within parties, within the different voices in Parliament. I remember quite clearly that Paul Martin was willing to give Mr. Layton not just a silver platter, but a golden platter, whatever he wanted. And it was Mr. Layton who said, well, no thanks, I don't think I want that. I think I want to have an election instead. Because, I think the polls look good for me. I think I may have a few more seats. So he has a few more seats, but that's what we have at the moment. So I think that there's a need for, if New Democratic Party is serious about bringing issues, and I don't really know what the Dutch accomplished in the last Parliament, if they're really serious about bringing issues, then they have to also cooperate to make sure things are getting done. And I think that the last few years of Harper government has been a disaster for this country, and we need an alternative. I hope to have your support in that second.
Thank you very much. I'll open it to the questions up to the floor, and I'll save a final question for myself at the end. And we do have a time limit, 8:30 time limit, so we have 36 minutes. If no one has a question, I can go with mine. I'd like to pose to each of the candidates. Davenport is a neighborhood that is in flux right now. Our demographics are changing, our land is changing, our economic status is changing. What will you do to focus on the local Davenport riding for the residents? right?
First order or in demand?
Assessment.
Okay. So, I mean, so one of the things about definitely I believe very strongly in intensification. It's one thing I fought for when I was in city council because so a lot of the land use you see, for example, there was one time industrial, there was one time vacant. All the Liberty area that I used to actually one time was on city council, the Kingston area, which part of it is still in the riding. That area pretty much was something that I fought very strongly for because I believe that we need to have intensification of our city so that we can avoid urban sprawl. The other thing too that I thought was very important was, of course, was how we link this all to the community and community services and transportation. All these things were things that were quite essential, and all the different services that we have in the community. And I think that, you know, as a member of parliament, could be a voice for the community as well. And I certainly, when I was in government, I certainly fought very hard for both the community, for the arts student groups. I have several arts groups as well in the community that have been helping over the years, who are quite active in my campaign, which I'm very proud of that. But so you have to, you know, work with the community. And there's a variety of different communities. I mean, sometimes I go into public meetings and we get the impression it's only sort of one community. But I think all of you know, and I think all of you know, that there's many communities in Davenport, and there's many communities as well who don't always come to meetings. And there are people here who are from the Portuguese and the Italian background, from the Spanish community, who sometimes don't have, because of language skills, have difficulty making these meetings. And so we get sometimes an impression when I go to these public meetings, I've been to so many of them, that there's only one voice in Davenport. I think there's several voices in Davenport. I think what a member of parliament has to do is to work with all those voices. You know, whether somebody is a conservative or a liberal or an EDP or whatever party affiliation, it doesn't really matter. You've got to work with them. We're not here just working on one party. And over the years, I've shown that in terms of, you look, for example, at the war resistance, we work very closely with them. You look, for example, at the arts groups. So different groups that make up Davenport, whether the people who are Davenport for Peace, these are different groups, there are different voices, and I respect their voices, and I want to work with them. I think that's what a member of parliament has to do, is to work with a different community. I'm not here just to serve one party affiliation, and I have to figure out how to best work with all the different interest groups within the community to make it a cohesive and get things also done for the community.
Well, and one of I think one of Davenport's pressing issues is the fact that schools are starting to have declining attendance. We've had, you know, a couple schools close in the riding in 2010. This trajectory is a troubling one for our community, and it's linked to the fact that we have almost no affordable housing, and we have childcare that is outrageously expensive. Davenport, many people are having a very difficult time just hanging on. And if you're a young family, it's going to be tough for you to settle in Davenport. And I'm very concerned about that. So I think what we're doing, what the NDP's proposing in this election, are some very specific things that are going to make cities more affordable. You know, we need to invest in public in affordable housing. We have barely built any in years. I mean, we used to build co-ops, and we stopped building those. Actually, it was the Liberal government that stopped building co-ops. We don't have stable operating funding for public transit. You know, we don't. We're the only GA country that doesn't have a national public transit strategy. Now, this is extremely important for our riding. We have some of the highest usage of public transit in the downtown core. That's right here. Okay. And then when you look at say our commercial strips like Ford between Lansdowne and Dufferin, you know, we want to see a vibrant commercial areas, and we put together a package of enticements for small business. And when we talk about small business in Davenport, you know, small business is a couple people. When government in Ottawa, they talk about small business, talking 200-300 employees, but here the backbone of the economy are small businesses. And we're very concerned that these small businesses have the support that they need so that they can thrive, because if they thrive, we thrive. And if housing and transit and childcare were more affordable, which in our plan they will be, then I'm very confident that schools that were closed wouldn't have to be closed. I just want to tell you a quick little story. A couple of years ago, when I was doing a story for Now magazine, and I was covering a school out in Thorncliffe Park, which is way out in Eastborough. They're building a kindergarten, just a kindergarten, for 500 students. At the same time, in Davenport, we're closing schools. Okay, so this is huge. These are serious. There's serious implications here, and you know, we need to connect the local issues here with what's going on in Ottawa, and what our platform is very much does that.
Thank you very much.
I spoke in the introduction about the relationship between local issues and international issues, and maybe one of the best examples of that is the problem of downloading of responsibilities from the federal government to the province, and then from the province to the municipalities, and so on. And the accompanying decline in the quality and level of services that are available, precisely because the municipalities and the Canadian Constitution still have no status. They're still not recognized as an entity, constitution. They have our city and all municipalities in this country have a much narrower tax base, primarily property tax and associated taxes, but not the capacity to tax wealth creation and senior levels of government have. And so when you start downloading these charges and responsibilities and services onto municipalities, it leads to a deterioration of services. We've seen that in a whole number of fields. In housing, for instance, the feds, as Rodrigues pointed out, have virtually withdrawn from the field of housing, particularly social and public housing, non-profit public housing. Similar problems with respect to transit. I just want to say here that our party certainly supports the rail link, but we also agree very strongly with the position that the Clean Train Coalition has taken with respect to what type of train should be run. And we certainly are in favor of getting it right the first time, as opposed to the diesel and the switch over. Furthermore, with respect to transit, I mean, we support transit for a whole number of reasons, environmental reasons, social reasons, cost reasons. But we think that as it is, transit is less and less affordable and accessible. People are struggling now to come up with those fares. And in fact, if you look at how much is generated through public transit at the fare box right across the country, I mean, it's like 1/10 of the defense budget. The federal government could easily, with much more expensive support to public transit, not only expand the provision of services in cities and build intercity fast trains and so on as an alternative to private automobiles, but could actually eliminate fares, not just reduce them, but eliminate. Unfortunately, they're going the other direction. Similarly with respect to education and post-secondary education. Many of the people in this variety have young people who are studying at university or college or technical institutes where they have kids that are going to be going in. The fact of the matter is that right now Ontario has the highest tuitions in the country, but right across the country they have been exploding. And we think that's fundamentally wrong. There needs to be a commitment to make education from cradle in a way to grade, including adult education, free and universally accessible. And the way to do that is to increase the amount that the corporations and the banks and the oil companies contribute to the Canadian economy. It's not through taxing ordinary citizens, working people. But it's taxing the rich because they have the money and they are getting richer and richer and richer, and everybody knows it.
Thanks very much. Wayne.
Okay, I don't want to go into necessarily specifics. The Green Party of Canada has a complete platform. We have for years. There's been a rumor out there that other parties have pushed on us saying that we're a one-issue party. We're just about the environment. I think it's a pretty good one issue with you because everything else is based on that. All of our life is based on that. But for years, we have had on our website at greenparty.ca a complete platform of the things that we would like to do. And it's still there. The latest version just came out this month before the election. Go to greenparty.ca and click on Vision Green, which is the platform. Read your specific interests there, what we intend to do. But it all comes down to quality of life. Quality of life locally for folks, the neighbors in this riding. Everybody's touched on transportation, and I don't know how many people saw our debate on Roll Talk last night. They had the wrong time on the Rogers website, so maybe you didn't see it. But we were the first riding to kick off their series all month long of local debates. I said there that my prime interest was transportation because of my background, because I think it touches on everything else we do. How we get from point to point in our home riding is vital. We've all heard about transit. Transit's only one part of it. You don't take a transit a couple of blocks to go to the local store. We need walkable, bikeable, active transport communities. This is the smallest geographical riding in the country. It's a neighborhood. It's as close to a neighborhood, defining it as you can. So we have a small area that we can get to without transit. Transit, of course, is a major point, but it's not the whole transportation issue. And this kind of active transportation helps kids get around from point to point. It would help seniors get around from point to point, and it would help the atmosphere, and it would help with the costs of transportation. Quality of life for the people living in this riding is my main concern, and if that spreads, if we can make this a picture postcard neighborhood. Let's face it, with all the train tracks we've got around here, this riding has been built up over the years. We're the afterthought. We're the part of other ridings that they didn't particularly want. We were the other side of the tracks, and that's what we've been amalgamated into. I think if we take a really strong look at this and focus on the riding, number one, that we can make a much better place for us all to live, and I think that it bodes well for everyone in the future.
Thanks very much. Alex? Actually, because we do have time constraints, I'll keep your comments at 3 minutes, which you're thus far on.
I have a very quick question from Mr. Silva, and I'd ask Mr. Cash a question. My question to Mr. Silva is, do you think you could leave your phone in your pocket and listen to everyone who will be here?
Sure, absolutely.
Thanks very much. Mr. Cash, my question for you.
But it's possible to do two things at the same time. I do
No, not
no problem. No, I've managed to do it so far.
Great. So far in this meeting?
I've managed to listen, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Cash, I generally consider the NDP to be a fairly harmless status quo party, much like the Liberals. I don't expect consistent principled standpoints from them, but most of the time I expect them to operate with good intent. The reason I won't
Most of the time, what?
I expect you to operate with good intent, and I think you do. The reason I won't vote for your party is because I feel that there's been a number of anti-democratic lapses in judgment demonstrated by your party. For instance, in 2006, Jack Layton told voters that if he was in a position of proper minority government, that his first priority would be proportional representation and democratic reform. He was in that position, and he didn't speak to it. He eventually introduced something having to do with Senate reform, but that's not really the same thing. In 2008, when Elizabeth May was declined from entrance to the leaders' debate, Jack Layton was one of the people who who said that she shouldn't be there, even though the Green Party at that point was receiving as many votes that under a proportional representation system, which your party claims to support, they would have held seats in Parliament. And that decision was against the majority of Canadians' feelings. Also in 2006, in the by-election in London North Centre, the NEP campaign in that riding received, they did advance polling data to show that it was a two-way race between Elizabeth and the Liberal candidate. And the response to that was to publish campaign literature a couple days before the by-election, which said that they shouldn't waste their vote on someone like Elizabeth May because she didn't have a vote to get elected, and that they should vote for someone who had a greater chance, which they knew was the opposite of true. So, as I said, I think for the most part, your party operates with good intent. Could you care to explain to me those gross and glaring lapses in the democratically inspired decision of the party?
Well, I guess the first thing I say is that we're the only party in the House of Commons right now that embraces proportional representation. Okay. I don't think. I mean, I wasn't there in 2006, but what I would suspect is that there wasn't any kind of coalition agreement. There was no there was probably nothing there that said, well, the only way we prop up or vote with the government on certain things would be proportional representation. And in 2004 we negotiated a budget that reversed the Liberal decision to cut taxes for corporations, and we put that money into education, into child care, and these things were what we really achieved there. Now, Mr. Silva says that we were offered some kind of gold-plated pass. I think that's kind of too cute by half. I can't imagine any government offering an opposition party a gold platter, right? So
to do attack us, and I think that's the unfortunate thing. It's cheapening politics, and people become very cynical about it.
I just want to. My question has to do with Afghanistan. For the record, I'm very skeptical of the war myself. So my question is this: I'm not trying to score any points. If the war in Afghanistan was won, then how should the Western nations, including Canada, respond to the attacks on 9/11? That's my question.
Well, first of all, I mean, 9/11. Well, the mission of Afghanistan was a watershed moment as well, I think, for the UN. It was the UN community coming together from countries all over the world that actually had to sign on for this mission. It was a mission that had the backing of international law, and it was a mission supported by the United Nations. And to get countries to come together and engage is not easy. And the mission, the big problem with the mission was not Afghanistan. It was what happened in Iraq. In Iraq, as you know, the Liberal Party said no to Iraq, and it diverted all of the energy and all the efforts from the Afghanistan mission to Iraq. So that was one of the reasons that I was very much opposed to what was happening in Afghanistan, because of the fact that the Americans had basically went into an illegal war in Iraq that had not had UN sanctions, and spent all the money and the resources instead of building that country. I mean, if they had gone their property to the beginning and had actually invested in the community and done the work they should have done in the first place, we wouldn't have had the mess that we have now. Instead, they allowed themselves to be diverted to a sideshow that had nothing to do with 9/11, which is Iraq. And that's how we got into this mess in the first and the other thing. And I think Iraq, that had happened. I think the support for Afghanistan would have been totally different. I think we would have had a totally different reality today.
So the initial decision to go to Afghanistan was very big.
No, it was not a mistake. And it had the backing of international law, and I support international law.
Well, if I may speak to this question, and with all due respect. At the time when the bombers first took off and started to attack Kabul and other sectors in Afghanistan, October 10th, I think, or October 3rd, maybe, of 2000. There was no mandate from the Security Council. No vote had been taken at the Security Council. It was a unilateral action. It was a month or more afterwards, after the fact, that the Security Council then said, okay, it's a fait accompli, and set up the UN Security Council sanction. But at the time that the aggression was launched, there was no international agreement or motion or resolution or anything of that nature. Secondly, the larger question which you raised, and it's a very important question, how to deal with the problem of terrorism. This is a legitimate concern. Share this concern. Certainly from our perspective, the way to address terrorism is not through a war on terrorism. George Bush's war on terrorism, in many respects, it has exacerbated the situation. And a lot of the problem, or the, let's say, the soil upon which extremism thrives, are precisely the contradictions that exist in the world. And particularly in the Arab world. Just for a moment, place yourself in a circumstance of a Palestinian or an Arab in the Middle East who have seen UN resolutions for not year after year, decade after decade, for 5 decades, blatantly violated by Israel in its illegal occupation of Palestine, the West Bank and Gaza, and nothing has been done about that. And every time even a slap on the wrist is raised in the Security Council, the United States vetoes it. Because it's taboo to even criticize Israel. And you have millions of Palestinians in the diaspora, in refugee camps, in southern Lebanon, in Jordan, and elsewhere, and in the West as well, who have seen this go on and on and on, and nothing has been done. This has contributed in many ways, and I'm not justifying, we've never justified terrorism, but it has created the soil for these things. So how to deal with the problem of terrorism? It's not by stealth bombers, and it's certainly not by F-35 stealth fighter jets either.
And they have to go here.
Parenthetically.
I wonder if I might jump in again.
I just want to caution, it is 8:30, so if people have to leave, but I do want to give you an opportunity to answer it.
Thanks. I think what we've seen is that we need a new voice in Parliament. I think everybody agrees that no one's really happy with going to this election. I watch Question Period every day. I'm amazed at the child and how poorly these people seem to think. What they seem to think they're doing is serving us, the people that put. It's become more of a battle between the parties and their personal agendas, or the agendas of their base that are driving them. We also have to remember that Michael Ignatieff was in favor of the war in Iraq. Canada basically went into the war in Afghanistan because we hadn't gone into the war in Iraq. We wanted to keep our face and our relationship with the States. The Green Party has a completely different outlook on how we use our armed forces and what our role is in the world, and it returns to the idea of peacekeeping. I think in Davenport, we could be the riding in Canada that makes that change. We have no chance of returning a conservative candidate in this riding. No kidding. It's wonderful. One of the people at this table is going to be representing us in Ottawa come May 2nd. And if we elect the first North American Green Party member, then we can show the way for this country and this continent and hopefully the world. We can join with that that idea and those ideals worldwide. Because it truly is. We start local, and we could move that influence out and make this a better world. I've got a great-grandchild. This is not an issue for me. It's way off in the future. This is somebody I see and talk to every day. She's got questions for me today at 3 years old. I don't have the answers that I would like to be able to give her. And I think that this is the way we should be looking. Not just about what it's like for us, not just the petty differences that are so involved in this, but it's the larger picture. And we can start right here in Davenport. It's a great opportunity.
Okay, so I want to give you the opportunity for a 20 to 30-second wrap-up. Just, do you feel you've done it, or would you like to have 20
Greenparty.ca, Vision Green. You can find out all the answers that you want that our party has to offer. And we know how much Canada responded to the unfairness of Elizabeth May not being in the debate that we're missing tonight. Over 80% of the people responding to the CBC poll felt that she should be involved because the Green Party has something to offer all Canadians, and Canadians know this. The biggest problem is they think that there's a fear of voting Green in a lot of ridings because they fear Stephen Harper. He has caused this. He works on fear, greed, and delusion, really. The Green Party offers an alternative, and I leave it in your hands to do what you think is best for our community.
Thanks, Wayne. 30 seconds.
Right, well, I will make a pitch for you to consider giving a vote to the Communist Party. I say this without false modesty, but I think that voting Communist in this election is maybe the strongest message that you can send of the need to move our country fundamentally in a different direction. Because the issues that confront us and confront the future of our country are very sovereignty. The whole question of democracy, the question of war and peace, of the environment, spring not just from the policies of this or that government, or this or that party, or this or that MP, but they're tied directly to the system of capitalism itself. It's a predatory system. It's a system based on exploitation and widening disparities and oppression. And I think that if you're coming to such a view that we need to move in a fundamentally different direction, I would encourage you to take a look at the positions of our party. We have a website, election website, www.votecommunist.ca, and encourage you to check it out. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Andrew?
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight, and I really appreciate your questions and your patience and your engagement. It's an honor to be here. I really think that we need and we deserve stronger, more dynamic advocacy for urban issues, for Toronto issues in the House of Commons. I know that we can have a more direct connection between what happens in Ottawa and what happens in Davenport, and that's what our campaign is about. And I look forward to talking with any and all of you about what we're up to. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Mario?
Like I said, this election is very important one. It's about what direction we want for the country, so I'm hoping that maybe I can get your support. I'm really worried about the direction that Harper is taking this country. And I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to get together to make sure that we're able to defeat that type of message, the conservative message within our country. Elections do matter, and it's about civic engagement. I always say that my enemy is not the NDP or the Conservatives or the Greens, which is a big fan of the Greens, that's beside the point. But I say the enemy in the riding is vote apathy. Only 50% of people voted last elections, and I think that we need to make sure that people go out to vote. I have a lot of young people working in the campaign. I think the youth need to be mobilized as well, because it's about their future, it's about their country. And I would ask all of you to participate, to also engage your neighbors, to ask them not to go and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.